Hey everyone, good morning. It's about 9:09. I've got to get ready for work in just a little bit. I have to be there at about 10:30. Oh, it's somewhere around that time frame, 10:30, 11:30, 12. I got to look at my schedule again, but I know it's in a little while. Uh anyway, I talked about this briefly, well, not briefly, pretty much a little bit in extent during my first monthly opinions for this year. But I want to talk about the Bumbleking forums closing. Now, the site itself is not closing, it's just the message board. And I know a lot of people, whether they want to admit it or not, are disappointed in that. I'm kind of disappointed, but like a lot of people, as I mentioned in there, I can understand why Ian's doing it. You know, he's got a lot going on. He's got a lot on his plate right now, basically. You know, he's working on other projects, he's working on other books. I mean, the guy's basically freelancing from Archie in IDW. I mean, he's working with IDW on their uh, comic book adaptation of the Nickelodeon of the on the comic book adaptation of the Nickelodeon TMNT series. Not the non TMNT series, which is more mature and everything, but the one that's based off the TMNT series. He's working on the comic. He's working on that comic book. He's working, of course, on the Sonic books, mostly the main comic. Sometimes he'll dabble back into the universe comic. He's also working on side projects. He's working on, I think, the Crusader books, and as well as some other Red Circle books. If those are still going, I think he's kind of dabbling here and there now with DC and Marvel at times. I think he's sticking his foot in there in those areas a little bit. Not diving in fully, but just sticking his foot in, testing the waters in those areas. As well as he's trying to, and this is another reason why we haven't seen much of it. He's also trying to get out the chapters for Lost Hitchcock Tales, which is basically him explaining what happened. Well, what was originally supposed to happen uh, after 247. Basically, what was going to be the aftermath in the Mecha Sally arc. So, with all that and doing some side projects as well, he, side projects being, stuff, like web comics, some official web comics he's working with other people on and stuff. He's basically having a hard time monitoring the forums. So he can't really focus on what he wants to do with the forums. He can't monetize who's who's allowed to be on the forums, who's not allowed to be on the forums, what can be allowed, what can't be allowed. So he's having a hard time kind of balancing that with his everyday activities. He's also got a family. He's got a family life as well. So he's balancing all this. And as they say, when you have so much on your plate, you got to sacrifice one thing to kind of make things a little easier for you. And I think that's what he's doing with the Bumbleking forums. He's sacrificing that and saying, enough's enough. Excuse me. He's basically saying enough's enough. I can't do this part anymore. This has got to go. And he's also realized that there are other avenues out there. There's the Sega forums with the cartoons comic section. There's the SatAMSonic.com with their comic section at their message boards. Saturday Morning Sonic with their message boards. You got the Sonic Scan F, I think. You got comic book resources, Toon Zone. You got all these other avenues people can talk about the comic at in. So he's not too worried about that. It's just that he's got so much going on, and on top of that, he now has a podcast he does every week, if not every other week, with his friend Kyle. So, with all that combined, it's only, I guess, fitting. And I spit a little bit there. Sorry about that. I guess it's only fitting that he he kind of puts the Bumble. It's only fitting that he in his mind, basically, it's only fitting that he sacrifices the Bumbleking forms. Now, the compromise, I guess, out of this is originally after June 30th. Originally, from what I saw, he was going to erase basically the entire thing. The entire message board was going to be gone. You go to bumbleking.com, it's still there. You try to go to the message boards, you'll get you'll probably get something like a 404 something, or page deleted, or message or something. You would have gotten something like that. Apparently, that's not going to happen. He's basically going to keep it open for archival reasons. And as I mentioned in my opinions video, he's keeping it open for archival reasons, just like a lot of websites have message boards that have done the same thing. They keep those message boards up for archival reasons. I mean, as of right now, this month, you can't register anymore as a member. I mean, because what would be the point of registering as a member if the site's going to be officially closed down next month? Now, like I said, even though it's going to be closed down, no more monitoring, no more anything like that, it doesn't mean it's not going to be there for you to look up information. Like if you want to know what other people had to say about certain issues, certain topics, stuff like that, that's still going to be there for you to look at. The only problem is it's not going to be active anymore. It's not going to be actively monitored or anything. Now, I excuse me. Now, I did say though in my opinions video that for any of us that want the message board to remain active and not completely shut down, maybe Ian Flynn can pick somebody that he knows doesn't have much on their plate, doesn't have much to do, to monetize it. I mean, he's had these different monitors like LBD, Collagen, and a few others, watching the forms for him, taking charge when he's not there. So, in my opinion, as I said in my other video, I think the best choice, if there is a demand to keep the Bumbleking forums going, to allow new members to come on board, to allow new topics to be discussed, and all that, I think the best option for Ian, if he decides to do it, if there is a demand from the fan base, from his supporters, to keep the Bumbleking forums going, I think the best option is to give one of those monitors that helped him out the full-time job, saying, hey, you want to take control? Here you go. That way we keep the Bumbleking forums open and active. But as of right now, that doesn't seem to be the case. Again, the only constellation in all this is Ian Flynn is going to keep the Bumbleking forums open, but not active. In other words, open for archival reasons. So that way you could, like I say, look up what other people have had to say, maybe use it for research or podcast or whatever. But again, if there is a demand out there to keep the Bumbleking forums going, my suggestion to Ian Flynn, and I don't know if he'll be listening, is to get a monitor, someone that will monetize that place, that doesn't have as much on their plate as he does. So we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, to me, come January 25th, when he does the form closing Q&A fest, as he calls it, maybe he'll make an announcement saying that they're going to remain open, or that they will reopen, and it's going to be under this person as the monitor, and this basically, maybe he'll make, like I'm trying to say, maybe he'll make the announcement that so and so is going to be the new monitorator, and the Bumbleking forums will now reopen, and he won't have to worry about it anymore. But in that way, people could still post updates and stuff like that, topics, discuss things. We'll just have to wait and see. But as of right now, that doesn't seem to be the case. But if it happens, it happens. We'll just have to pray and hope for the best. But for me, as far as looking back on it, I've had my ups and downs with the Bumbleking forums. Yeah, I've been banned from them several times. I'm not going to deny that. Um, but I was, as I said, as I said in my other video, I was just trying to interact, and I guess I overstepped the boundary here and there. I may, in my personal opinion, I think I may have guessed, too closely to what was going to happen next in future issues, and maybe that's what got me banned, along with probably posting a few things like videos and stuff that I shouldn't have. So if that is the case, I do apologize. I didn't mean any harm. I was just trying to be interactive. But again, we'll just have to see what happens with the future of the Bumbleking forums. I hope and pray he does get somebody to take over for him so that they don't become officially dead and they can reopen for new members and, to come in and discuss things about Sonic, Mega Man, and whatever comes to the mind. But if it is the end, if it is the end, you know, it was a great run and a great 10-year run. And I thank Ian Flynn for doing this forum. And I hope everybody else that's been part of it has enjoyed it. And as he mentioned in his post about it, and I'm pretty sure he's mentioned this in his Bumblecast, there are other avenues out there. There is the Saturday AM Sonic forums, the Saturday morning Sonic forums, the Sega forums, the ones at Sonic Stadium, Sonic ScanF, Toon Zone, CBR, Comic Book Resources, and even at DeviantArt as well, right here on YouTube as well. So uh, again, I want to thank Ian for putting that up there for all of his fans to take part of and just look up on information and stuff. And that's all I'm going to say. And here's to the best. And maybe Ian will change his mind and hand it over to somebody else. We'll just have to wait and see. Until then, though, let me